Recording in progress. Hey, everybody. Thanks for kind of joining us live on a Monday night. Technology is one of those things that is always wonderful and has changed our lives way for the better until it doesn't work the way it is supposed to work. So, having some Facebook issues again this week, man, it seems like that keeps happening. I might have to text who's the guy that runs Facebook, Greg? Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
I'm sure Greg has his number. He can pass it along to me. We'll get this sorted out. So we're calling a little bit of an audible instead of coming to you directly live. Greg and I are just going to tape the live episode, and it'll be up and running on our Facebook page here in 30 or 45 minutes as soon as we're done. So, as always, we want to be, or I'll at least be available to maybe answer questions and field comments on that video on the live stream, so that if you've got questions about what we're talking about or wanting to get in touch with us or get in touch with Greg to get some more information, please comment or send us a direct Facebook message, and I'd be happy to return that as soon as possible. So if you're catching this video, we're really happy that you're seeing it, happy that you're joining us. You might be catching this on a friend's news feed. You might be catching it on YouTube because somebody shared it in an email. So if you're not familiar with Parents Helping Parents, we're an Oklahoma-based nonprofit organization founded by parents, primarily run by parents, with the mission of providing parents who have a child any age that's struggling with a substance use disorder with education, resources, and peer support. So basically what we do, if you've got a child anywhere from 13 to 83, if you've got a child that's 83, you're doing really well watching this video. But if you've got a child, no matter what their age, they're struggling with an addiction or a substance use disorder, we want to offer you support. We want to connect you to resources that are in your area. We want to share experience that our parents have had, things that they've learned along the way. And we want to provide some much needed education for you around addiction, around community, and particularly around recovery. So as an organization, Parents Helping Parents doesn't have any professional expertise or experience. Our role is limited to connecting you with those resources and sharing our own personal experiences walking with family members through substance use disorders. So we do periodically get the opportunity to bring in guests, to bring in people that have personal and professional experience, like my buddy Greg, who's going to be joining us here in a few minutes tonight. We just don't want people to be confused that this kind of interaction is a substitute for professional help. It's not a substitute for medical help. It's not a substitute for legal help or professional counseling. All of those are great things, and we think you should probably get those if you need them. That's just not what we do, is provide those services directly. We're kind of the middleman that gets you connected with the people that can help you the best. So with that being said, if you want more information about Parents Helping Parents, if you want to stay connected with some of our other support groups in your area or some of the fundraising events that we have coming up, you can follow us on Facebook at Parents Helping Parents Inc., or you can check out our website, parentshelpingparents.info, to follow us there. So with that being said, let me get straight to the meat and potatoes. So I've got a good friend of mine and a colleague named Greg, who is going to be joining us. He's going to be sharing a little bit about his story, and he's going to be talking a little bit about recovery and about community, and I'm looking forward to it. I know that he's got a lot of great stuff to say. Greg, man, the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit just kind of about who you are and what you want to visit about.
Cool. Thanks, Derek, for having me. Hey guys, my name's Greg Cooney. I work with Derek over at a treatment facility in Tecumseh. It's called Country Road Recovery. I do some supervision over there over the techs and just the overall client milieu. Directing traffic, pretty much, is what I like to call it. But more importantly, I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drug addict, and I am a recovered alcoholic and drug addict. I grew up in Norman. I'm from Oklahoma City, but lived most of my life in Norman, and grew up with a parent who was an alcoholic who chose to do AA as his 12-step program. And as a kid, I'll just start from the beginning. But like as a kid, I was brought up going to like these like support group meetings with my dad, and I would like sit in the hallway And me and my brother would like wait for the meeting to be over, and we could hear them like praying in the other room, and we would like burst through the door once the prayer was over. And I just remember people in those support group meetings were like really happy, and and that's like what I saw as a kid, is that people were happy and people were getting helped, but I didn't really know what the conditions were. Like I didn't know that my dad suffered from like a condition like alcoholism or anything like that. Because growing up, like as a kid, I never saw any of that in the household. All I saw was the recovery process growing up. And so fast forward a little bit, um, you know, I got to see what the household looks like when a parent is working a program of recovery, and this was like right about the time I was like, I think I was 16. I was see, I was a freshman in high school at Norman North, or Norman High actually, and uh, I remember I drank for the first time with some of my buddies, and it's ironic because I grew up going to AA meetings. My dad used to talk about like, hey, you probably have this allergy too, so if you ever try alcohol or do drugs, like you're probably gonna like have what I had, which is like you're gonna end up going to jail. You're gonna like it a lot, and you're gonna keep doing it. And so I was told these things, not like it wasn't like it wasn't talked about too much, but I remember having these conversations, and I understood that. I was like, oh, okay, like yeah. Um, and I wanted to buy into that, but I remember uh, I had a buddy of mine in high school, and like we heard that he drank one night, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe he drank. And then one of my other friends, who was like the main guy in the friend group, he was like, I don't know, man, I kind of want to try it. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll try it too. And it was just as quick as that I changed my mind, that like I wanted to try it as well. And I'll preface this with, as a kid, I always felt like uncomfortable. Oh, sorry, I got something popping up on my screen. I always felt uncomfortable. I always felt less than. I always felt not a part. I'd walk into a room of people who I loved me, and the first thing on my mind was, man, I gotta, I gotta make myself look good, because these people probably don't actually care about me. And just like I remember being like 6 or 7 years old in like kindergarten, and this kid kept getting up from the group that we were having, and the teacher kept on trying to get the kid to sit down, and I remember feeling this like anxious tension of like, why can't that kid just sit down? And I had these feelings of like anxiety and fear that I don't think that every kid has. And really, what that was I needed a drink way before I knew I did. Um, so in high school, I ended up having that first drink, and I got real drunk, and my brother in the morning was like, or it was that night. I was with him. He's my older brother. He's a few years older than me, and he said, "Man, I can drive you home to Dad's, but he's gonna know you're drunk, or you can stay at my house." And I was like, "All right, I'll stay here." And I had school the next day because I was still a freshman, and my dad called me the next day, and he was like, "Hey, I know what you were probably doing, and I just want to let you know that it all starts here." And he like hung up on me, and I was like, I was pretty scared. I was like, I mean, I looked up to my dad. He was a single parent who raised me and my brother. So I felt like, it was like, all right, well, the cat's out of the bag. Like I should like hide this a little bit better from now on. But what I didn't know is that during that time, my dad had been struggling as well. Uh, he had and still till this day, I don't know exactly what happened, but he had a slip, and I think he had like 6 or 7 years sober, and had a slip and relapsed, and so there was some like drinking and drug use going on in the house that like I didn't know about. But like I was 16, just got a car and all this stuff, so I wasn't really at the house that much. So I was trying to hide what I was doing, and he was trying to hide what he was doing. And so, fast forward a little bit more. Honestly, this all happened within a matter of like a couple months. Like I started drinking. Like I had my first drink. My dad relapsed, and then one day I needed some gas money. Sorry, I'm looking at my clock. All right, one day I needed some gas money, and I called my dad, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, I need some gas money," and he told me, "All right, well, I'm at the house. Just come by and pick it up." And I thought that was weird because it was like 3 p.m. on a Wednesday. Like, why aren't you at work? So I went by the house, got the gas money, and he was sitting in like he was wearing like an OU sweatsuit, and was like sitting on the couch, like looking pretty depressed. And I only knew my dad as being someone who was like, just like active member in AA, pretty happy, like pretty funny guy, like, a provider. Um, and so whenever I saw that, it looked weird to me. So I asked him, I was like, what's going on with you? And he told me that he had been trying to kill himself for a few days, and he just kind of bluntly just said that, as he was like staring like at the wall. And I kind of went into flight mode, and so I took him to the hospital. Um, Went on like autopilot. I like knew what to do without knowing what to do. I was like, I need to take you to the hospital. So I like took him to the hospital. They admitted him, and whenever he got out, like a few days later, he sent me like, hey, uh, I'm just gonna let you guys know that like I said was is he was like, I'm about to become a Jesus freak because if I don't, I'm probably gonna go back to that dark place that I was at. So like, and I just remember saying that, and he didn't go back to AA, but he started trying to get into church, and I was, I took my dad's word as fact, so I figured, that's not gonna happen again. That was kind of weird. And it was about a month later, I got a phone call. I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and my was like, something's going on at dad's house. You need to go over there because I was staying at my grandma's house. Because it was in the school, it's closer to the school district that I was going to. So I went over to my dad's house. And there's like a cop car in the driveway, and pulled up to talk to the cop. And the cop just told me he was like, your dad is inside, and he's passed. He committed suicide, and so I just remember that being like, very real to me. And I just started drinking. I had just started like trying other stuff like smoking weed, and I just remember like wanting to exit, like and I know that is a kind of a grim story, but I just want to say that I don't think that like any of the things that have happened to me in my life make me an alcoholic. I think that really it's just, I chose to drink, and I just happen to be I have that allergy to where once I put one in me, all bets are off. Like I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I'll probably end up in jail or end up in the psych ward or end up in the hospital. Like I go on a tear. And then whenever you take the alcohol away from me, whenever you take the drugs away from me, I don't know how to live life without it because I don't have a substitution for it, until I find, until I get introduced to like, like AA or whatever support group, people choose to do. Um, but I just want to say that like it's not just because like something, bad happened in my childhood that like, oh, okay, well, you know. But here's the thing, whenever that did happen, I will tell you that whenever I drank and used after that, I ran on the idea in my head on if you've been through what I've been through, you'd probably drink too. And I didn't vocalize that to anybody, but that's kind of what was in the back of my head. Anytime consequences came up, people screamed in my face. They said, "Why can't you just stop?" In my head, I was just like, "Well, wouldn't you too?" Um, and so fast forward a little bit more, I kind of just skate through high school. Teachers felt sorry for me. I'd show up drunk or high, and one time the principal like um, the one time the principal like got me a cab home because he just like felt bad. I just like showed up to school like intoxicated. Um, I graduated high school, and everyone was going to college and stuff, and I was just maneuvering around the universe aimlessly. Like I had no like purpose really is what I felt like. I was pretty numbed out. But also I just felt like I was in charge. And I so when I got out of high school, so after my dad passed, I got a life insurance payout access when I was 18, and it was like for an 18-year-old kid. My mom and dad split when I was in like third grade. And whenever my dad won the custody battle, my mom just decided to just go her own way. And but then when my dad passed, she kind of showed back up and was like, I'm back. And all right, whatever. And so I lived with my mom for the remainder of high school. It's kind of we had this codependent, sick relationship where I was getting my dad's social security while I was in high school, and my mom got a joint bank account with me because I was still a minor, and she would funnel the money into her personal bank account. Basically, it was just stealing from me, and I didn't know about that until later on, and that was something that I was able to, be at peace with it at one point. But like those are the things that I used as justifications to drink. Like you stole from me, and like all it. But it was all BS. Like I needed something to say at in the moment. On like why I do what I do. But So sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to gather where I'm at. Let's see. So yeah, I get the life insurance payout, and I'm like living with my mom. And once I graduate high school, how much I can't.
I was on mute. You're good, man. We got plenty of time.
Uh, well, I got that money, and at that point, I just like me and my mom are like at odds. Like we're just like not getting along ever. My house was the party house. Uh, and I wanted to move when I got out of high school, so I moved to my aunt and my uncle's in Iowa because I thought, I just need to move. That's like what I need to do, and because my uncle, he was like, "Hey, if you move up here," because he wanted to get me away from my mom because he knew that there was a lot of bad stuff going on, and I'm not trying to say that I was in the like I was in the right, my mom was in the wrong, but it was sick. And I think from a parental standpoint, I think people could see that something really toxic was going on, and they wanted to get the kid out of it. That was the type of situation it was. It was like, I'll set you up with a place to live, you can work, you know and then all my requirement is I want you to, I mean, it sounds pretty sweet. Like, and these were pretty wealthy people. Uh, and I moved up there, and basically I got up there, and the first thing that happened is I could I suddenly realized that I couldn't drink the way that I wanted to. Like, I uh, my uncle pulled me aside one night and was like, "Hey, I had like a 12 pack of Coors Light, and now there's only like two of them in there. Like, did you drink those?" And I was like, yeah. Sorry, like I'll pay you for those. And he was like, no, I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about like, like, did you like go out with some people and like drink those? And I was like, no, I just drink them downstairs. And they were concerned about me drinking by myself, and I just couldn't connect the dots. Like, um, and they brought it up as a concern, and I apologized, and but what I did was like I'm always trying to beat the system. So like I get online, I find a way to like buy a fake ID in like Taiwan. I like take the picture of myself, send it to them. They send me the ID. I'm like 19. At 19, I probably looked like I was like 11. And then uh, when I had access to all that money, I would just, um, I tried to go to I tried to go to school, and that didn't work out. And basically, I just spit in my family's face at one point. Like I was out there for like 3 months and realized that like I couldn't drink the way that I wanted to, and I just wanted to do whatever I wanted to. And I just told them like, hey, I think I'm going to move back home. And I remember my uncle had just having one short conversation with me. He was like, hey, if you want to come back, you can, but there's no like third time. And I never took him up on that second time, but like I realized what he was saying in that moment, but I just like I would just hurt people and do stuff like that and not think about it. Like I would make an impulsive, huge decision like that based on the fact that I didn't like the way that I felt, so I'm going to change that. And that's just like that's my default. I don't like the way that I feel. Drink. I don't. And that's just how I operated. So I just packed up everything in my Toyota Corolla, drove back to Norman, and that's kind of where when things got like really bad. I feel like the disease of alcoholism, they talk about it being progressive. So whenever I was like 16, 17, 18, I could like drink a bunch and like party and keep up with my friends and we would all do the same things and like laugh and stuff and then wake up the next day, whatever, like, and everything would be okay. And well, when it progressed with me, it wasn't the fact that like I could drink more or anything. It was the fact that like I started to become like more of an ugly person. Um, I would drink, and then everything I hated, like I didn't like myself. So whenever I drank, all that would just come out. Like I would just be up at the bar or something, and I would get a couple drinks in me, and I would look over at someone and see that they were happy, and I had to let them know that like, hey, I'm not happy, or and say some hateful things. Like that's just one example. Um, but but that started to happen more often than not in my like in my early to like mid 20s. So I moved back home, and I would just I was just withdrawing money from that from the life insurance payout and crisscrossing around the country, like buying plane tickets, going to cities, going to like big cities, getting like hotel rooms, and like going to bars, and like really like it was really dangerous stuff because like I would just go in by myself, go to a bar in like a big city, get real drunk, and then I couldn't make it home. Like I would be in a hotel, um, and my mom would be like, "Where are you?" And I'd be like, "I'm still in Atlanta," and and I would be there for like 7, 8, 9 days because I just like couldn't make it home. And then eventually, I would land in places like I would land in like a psych ward, and then that's the only time that I can ever reset. Like I will only stop until the only way that I can stop is behind a locked door. Whenever I'm out there doing whatever I want, I can't just make the decision to go to an AA meeting. And I don't know if that's relatable with like maybe with what some of the parents are going through, because I'm sure a lot of parents are just like, why can't you just stop, or why can't you just like quit, put it down, like don't you see the like we have a good thing going on here, like you have a family, but if it was I knew that I was like breaking my mom's heart. I knew that like I was in trouble with the law. I knew like all these things, but like when it came down to it, I would step over whoever or whatever to get what I want. It doesn't matter. Like
Greg,
the disease.
obviously that's not like something changed, right? Like because you said, I can only get right behind the locked door, right? Um, but that's not the case now. So
Yeah.
like how did you eventually find some sort of stability and some sort of recovery if that was your pattern for so long that I could only get right, if somebody actually forced it on me?
Okay. Yeah. So and I just meant that like whenever I go on a spree,
Mm,
like I can only like I will only stop using and drinking until like I have to have a sudden change. Like it has to be cops or whatever. But like you know now like since I've been sober, like if I have things crop up or if I feel the urge to act out, whether that be wanting to use, which honestly gratefully the program I work, I don't really ever have that happen, but I do have things crop up where it's like, oh, I kind of want to go to the casino, or like I want to act out and fill that void in me that I was trying to fill with drugs and alcohol, that now I feel spiritually. I go to meetings, I try to. There's actually a place, so I know that community is what we're talking about. So whenever I got sober, there's a place in Norman called Transition House, and that was a place that helped me out a lot. They uh, they gave me a place to live whenever I was getting sober, and gave me resources, which um, I went to the mental health center in Norman and was able to get free resources for medication, therapy, everything I need is like a one stop shop. And that was great. And I didn't know that any of that existed. Like so it was kind of a godsend. Like I just happened to. It was really because you know uh, at one point I got a few DUIs, and I ended up in a diversion program where I was gonna have to go to prison,
Mm.
and they gave me mental health court. And whenever I got into that program, um, they had introduced me to resources that I didn't know existed. I knew AA existed, but um, I didn't know that like you could get therapy for free. Like, I mean, whenever I was drinking and doing things like that, I used to think that like, I was like, well, it'd be nice to get a therapist if I had money. Like, I just didn't know that there was community resources that could help people.
Yeah. You said at the beginning of kind of your story, Greg, that you always felt uncomfortable. You kind of had this I'm less than mentality, and that you've never really found a place to belong. How important is like the recovery community for you, and even like with sober living and transition house, how important were those places and are those places now in terms of helping you not kind of fall victim to the same ruminating thoughts of being less than and not having a place to belong?
Well, yeah, I mean, it finally gave me a place to belong, and really, I just like I found people that you know I would hear their stories and experiences and see what they did to get better, and I could not deny the fact that they had what I had. So it made me feel comfort to know that like, hey, like this is something that it sucks to have it, but I do, but there's a way to get better. And so now like I'm just I just know that I can reach out to somebody and I can say some stuff that's going on in my mind that might be absolutely insane. And they can be like, you know what? I was thinking something like that a year ago. And here's what
Mm.
I did, to get better. And I can trust these people to know that they're not going to be like, that was ridiculous,
Mm.
Cause like, I can't just go into I might not be able to go into a church and talk to somebody and tell them what's going on my mind and then be able to be like, yeah, like that's okay. But when one alcoholic talks to another alcoholic, or one drug addict talks to another drug addict, we have that common peril of like, you know, I've been in some really bad places, and my thought processes are really screwed up. And we can relate to that and then find a common solution.
Yeah.
But it was really all just like a demonstration. Like someone was a demonstration for me. But I had to hit that bottom, and like I had to really feel that bottom to buy into the fact that like, all right, like that might work.
Yeah. Yeah. What if you had maybe one or maybe more than one, but some short pieces of advice for a a person that might be out struggling with finding sobriety or finding recovery, what would it be for them? But then also, what would it be like? Would the advice be that you would give a family who's got a young person, um, who's maybe out struggling that's watching tonight?
Well, if someone's trying to like find recovery, or that, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of good resources, and Derek probably has more than I do. Um, but I mean, I'd look for a support group. Honestly, I don't think that there's I think that support groups alongside with like, you know, therapy, like it's all a piece of the puzzle, but I think that support groups like AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous, there's CA, which is Cocaine Anonymous, and those are the main ones like here in Oklahoma. Um, People there, there, there's going to be people in those groups who have long-term sobriety who can be that demonstration for somebody else. And I think just getting plugged in with someone with a common denominator is really important. Uh, uh, so that's really like the only advice on that. And if you have if you have a loved one, I know that for me, like my life didn't start getting better until everybody kind of like left me alone. Um, and that was something that I didn't realize until it was all said and done. Whenever I started getting sober and things started getting good, I was like, whoa, like I'm glad that I had to really like land on my face and like call somebody, you know, mom didn't answer, friends don't answer, and then I land up in a state funded treatment center, you know,
Yeah.
because you know, to go. So I mean, I think that for me, that was very beneficial. I mean, you can also, you know, you can be loving and tolerant without enabling. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
If you
so I
had
think
like
that that's
a,
my like.
go ahead.
No. I mean, that's really all I had to like touch
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. If you had like a, I don't know, like a 30 or 60-second message of hope, right? Maybe somebody's watching that's really in a bad spot. Like what would your like elevator pitch for hope be for them?
Honestly, I so for a long time, whenever I was drinking and using drugs, I used to see no light at the end of the tunnel. Like I really, every day I woke up and I wanted to die. I was too much of a coward to kill myself, and I could never get high enough. I could never get drunk enough, and I just knew I knew I knew I was a drug addict, and I just accepted that, you know, like I was in no denial of my condition. But for some reason or another, when I was sitting in a treatment center, someone approached me and shared a little bit about how they drank and how they used and what they did to get better. And I was like, right where I needed to be, I guess, to hear that. Because whenever you share that with me, I had like a moment where I was like, well, I could probably do that.
Mm,
And that's and I just started to take simple actions and my life started getting better. And I can tell you that like I would never think that I would have any sort of stability because there just wasn't any hope. Like I didn't have the want or the willingness to try. And one day it was just different. So my just hold on, you know, hold on and take suggestions because it's it's definitely it's definitely possible. It's crazy. I would have never thought, never, you know.
yeah, you would have never thought that you'd be the guy working at a treatment center convincing people to stay like on a routine
Oh,
basis as a
absolutely,
part of your
never,
job.
never. You know, I would have been the guy that people were asking to leave. I was the guy who got asked to get off the plane.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, what I love about that part of your story is that there's like a lot of times people expect like this like huge like higher power sign from the heavens moment to change, and yours is just as simple as, man, somebody told me that they changed and I thought, well, I might be able to do that. I'll take some simple actions and see what happens. Like that sometimes it can be like maybe we overcomplicate this thing for a lot of people when it really is just about sharing your
I
story and
needed
somebody
the
being willing
evidence
to do
of
them.
all. I needed the evidence that everything was bad and that it wasn't going to work out. And when I finally felt enough pain and knew that that was never going to change, I was able to buy into that dude's talk of just like, all right, I guess I'll, do what this guy's telling me to do.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Greg, I know like you're as busy as anybody, man. Thanks for your time and just sharing some of your story with us. And I know that a lot of times when people do these videos, they're like, how many people are going to watch this and all of these type of things. Man, people watch and people hear the stories, and somebody is going to hear this and maybe get a little bit of hope that they didn't have. So thanks for just being here and being vulnerable with us. And then thanks for everything you do for the recovery community, both professionally and just because that's a huge part of your program is being there for other people, man. I know that you've probably done some amazing things that you'll never even know about, right?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's been awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey, we'll be back the first Monday in February, hopefully with a real live stream and not a recorded mess up video like we did tonight. But hey, we got to roll with the punches. Life on life's terms, right, Greg?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Hey, Greg, thank you. Thanks for everybody that watched. We'll catch you next time. Greg, I'm sure I'll see you at the office tomorrow, brother.